Welcome to SSNN, where the news never sleeps. If you're part of the David Barron fan club, try not to inflate his ego too much. He's liable to burst. Sorry. Long day. Longer night. How about a do-over? Let's take a look at you. You're not from around here. My guess is you really work for a living. I bet you have a story or two. I have a feeling about such things. Tommy? Tommy did something useful? So you must be the captain of the... Frontier? Rumor is there was a firefight at a mining installation. I'm interested only in primary sources. So things you've seen and or done that are newsworthy. No hearsay. So, what do you got for me? Really? To say you have my undivided attention is an understatement. A lot of people were there. The accounts we've got were chaotic. What was your role in that? Wait. I heard someone from Constellation was involved. That was you? Oh, this is great! Like, embarrassingly important award-winning great. The whole city is still on edge over the attack. We were fortunate, damn fortunate, that casualties were so low. What was it like in the thick of things? That makes what you did even more, well, amazing. It sounds like New Atlantis, heck, the whole UC, owes you a great debt. Any closing comments? I already have a good story here. What? You're serious? Listen, Vivictus is dead. Like, documented historical event dead. I don't even want to get into it. That's a mouthful. A thankful you guys are around mouthful. Hey, Constellation? From all of us that live here, thanks. We use the word hero a lot in news, but you really are one. My source is back. Here to report anything else? What a sordid mess. We've got some other sources we've been interviewing, but I'd love to get your take on the record. So there was a mercenary company, the First, and they were involved in taking farmlands from Freestar Collective families. Extortion, death threats, murder, all of it. Is that right? I genuinely don't know how people like that can live with themselves. So all of that? Terrible. But Ron Hope, the Ron Hope, was involved with it at the highest level. All of that suffering was a plot to save Hope Tech from going under using the side effects of a fertilizer he developed. Let me be blunt. The other sources say you killed Ron Hope. Is that correct? And all that money didn't help in the end. After all of that, the future of Hope Tech is an open question. Their stock has already taken a beating. Not sure if it's going to go into freefall. Any comment? That's a chilling thought. Thanks. If you listen to the news, you'll definitely hear this. And, maybe try not to ice any more CEOs. Just a thought. You talk and get paid, I spread the news. It's a classic win-win. You certainly get around. I'm surprised that branch has any customers left the number of times it's been held up. But I thought the Rangers had finally managed to get a handle on it. I heard there was a standoff. That true? I'd say I'm surprised, but this is my total lack of surprise face. What happened to the robbers? The Shaw gang? I can't say I blame him. Armed robbers don't deserve much mercy in my book. These things are often messy. Any customers or Galbank staff get hurt? That's really good news. Usually, well, it's a different kind of story. You were there. You were involved in resolving it. Any comment on the Freestar Rangers? Having another high-profile robbery in their own backyard is a bit of a black eye. Huh. That's really good to know. Stories like this always fire up public outrage and appetite. Thanks for the interview. And take this. You have that look in your eye. What's the scoop? I already interviewed an ex-pirate about the robbery, but she was as reliable as good coffee around here. So you were there when it went down? What were you doing there? Why do I get the feeling you're often in that situation? Tell me about this Captain Petrov. I've heard he's a bit of an eccentric. What was your impression of him? I would have loved to have seen it. I'm sure it would make a good story right there. No one seems to know exactly what was stolen, but everyone agrees it was valuable. Care to shed some light on it? I don't blame you. Last question. About, and I'm quoting, a zoo gone wild. The other source swore up and down that alien creatures got out of their cages and went on a rampage. Please, please, please tell me she was telling the truth. It's got to be some Aurora-induced hallucination. Some days, it is worth it to get out of bed. I love it. This is just a plain old good story. Check the newsfeed for it later. And here's your payment. If you have a news story for me, I'm very happy to pay your fee. Looks like some Crimson Fleet brainiac figured out it's easier to hit stationary targets than dogfighting in the field. And you are an eyewitness with the courtesy to find us instead of being chased down. Refreshing. So what were the pirates doing there? It's not their usual MO.
Oh, yes. I'm not quite sure I have heard this entire story.
Bad blood between the fabled Constellation and the Crimson Fleet? Has all the markings of what we in the SSNN call a story. So what's your role in all this? Part of a tour group? Ah, the old anonymous source. A dance I know all too well. So we've covered the basics. How about any harrowing tales of daring do? How'd a bunch of miners triumph? Are those things rated for bad guys? This is a good local story. Plucky miners band together and punch above their weight. If you ever get more stories like this, drop by. And take this to cover any incidentals, or other creative ways to pad out an expense report. Your stories are a big hit. You lead a, well, an amazing life. I'm working on an investigative piece about some of the businesses in the well right now. Trying to get a handle on how things are in that part of the city. I'm not sure the story will get off the ground, though. I asked the higher-ups if I could go down there for some interviews, but they said it's too dangerous. They'd probably be all for it if David asked. Would you really? I'd owe you big time if you did. You've been a huge help on my other stories. I'm sure you'd do great. Great. I had 3 interviewees in mind. Teresa Mason, the owner of Kay's house, Henrik Zaran at Apex Electronics, and Nurse O'Shea from the medbay. You don't need to ask too many tough questions. I just want to read on how their businesses are doing, and how things are in the well. I really can't thank you enough. You have another story for me? This news is titanic. The ripples from SysDef essentially being taken out of the picture. I think we're just starting to see them. So, I'm guessing you weren't with the good guys? Some policies you need to know. SSNN protects its sources, and for me, I never, and I mean never, reveal a source. So anything you say to me won't get back to you. Assuming you're good with that. What was your involvement? No beating around the bush with you. So, the Vigilance went to the Key and one hell of a space battle ensued. And somehow at the end of that, the Vigilance was commandeered and SysDef has been dealt a massive blow. Maybe fatal. Any comment? Jesus. I mean, I imagine that was one tall order. I have to ask, why? Reading between the lines here, you helped the Crimson Fleet enormously. Piracy is going to get worse. So much worse. Again, why? I'll make sure the story makes it clear that SysDef were the aggressors here. I'll talk with publishing, but expect to see this soon. This is just me speaking as a human being here. But I hope you don't come to regret too much what you did. When you first walked into my office, I had no idea you would be at the center of so much. And I get the feeling you're not sharing everything. Indeed you have. I talked with the editor, and he authorized a special bonus for someone who's worked with us so long. And maybe one day, years from now, you can fill me in on the stories you didn't want broadcast. Take care, Constellation.